He is summoned to another world for the second time, and becomes the most powerful wizard again. Yuki is an ordinary student enjoying his boring school day, and asks what his friend Yuhai is looking at. He tries to remind him not to interact with him, because people start making annoying rumors about them, but he doesn't care that they are just childhood friends. He notices how she let her hair grow and asks if she wants him to cut it again. Yuki finally opens up a bit, smiled at him to do so, and claiming that he won't change. She smiles at him, happy that he accepts, and tells her that they will always be friends. It's dark and a circle appears on the classroom floor. Everyone starts to panic, except for Yuki, who seems to understand what's going on after a few seconds. Everyone in the class opens their eyes, and they're in the desert. They see Yuki looking around, looks and is very excited because he knows Itoi wants to know where he is. But everyone's attention suddenly shifts to a nearby commotion. The students see some chemical soldiers walking in their direction. As they speed up, the panicked students run away, except for Yuki, who stands there about magic power. Yuhai, not wanting to see his childhood friend hurt, quickly grabs Yuki while one of the soldiers tries to break them up. Some foot soldiers are running in their direction to fight the first ones. They call demons. The students watch the two groups fight, but after looking at the demons again, Yuki thinks the war must be over by now. Cries. Yuki begins to feel pain in his chest, and realizes that he is cursed. A girl riding a horse appears and tells the students to retreat to safety while the royal knights protect them, but Yuki seems to already know who the girl is. She and the rest of the soldiers fight against the horde of demons using swordsmanship and magical. Yuhai is amazed at how strong they look despite their very young looks. Yuki is not surprised by this. Instead, he seems proud of both of them, and from this protection after taking the Destiny King to the castle begins to retreat using, and his daughter Margaret thanks the heroes for coming to help. She explains that their kingdom has been invaded by demons, and just as a group of heroes were summoned to their world 5 years ago, the students are confused and unable to understand the situation. 5 years ago a hero was summoned to their world, and he defeated the demons and brought them peace, but suddenly that hero mysteriously disappeared. The king immediately asked the heroes to continue between the demons, and the animal relatives asked to end the ongoing war with their help. Each student was forced to learn and teach swordsmanship with the help of the LCA, but Yuki intended to skip all the hard work and just enjoy the trip. First praises her calmness in this strange world, but then mentions that her selfishness is related to the former hero. He tells her to go back to training, but he just mocks her. He decides to teach her, but she just slapped her. Heart skipped a beat as she dodged his attack when she felt his hands touch her. Yuki was a former hero. He knew it was her right away from the way she treated him, and using him as a chair, he convinces her that he's back for good. Glenn shows up not knowing what's going on, but they fill him in, and Elka realizes he wouldn't be acting this way if he wasn't the same person he was before the hero. They quickly go and make another comrade tea, but he was not surprised. But despite the fact that he was a newcomer, he already knew that he sensed Yuki's magical power. Then Yuki once promised to return, and now his 3 companions remind him that he did it. At first, he was surprised, but then he was greeted with warm smiles on their faces. Yuki then thought that they could have died while in the other world, and quickly changed his expression. He wondered why the demons were attacking again. The group quickly reads his mind, and informs him that they have a number of questions, asking him how he managed to return to this world, and why he seems like a different person. From their point of view, they explain that he simply disappeared after his last battle, but Yuki still doesn't understand why. He said that he fought against his partner Toma, and took some hits and injuries, but after Yuki managed to hit Toma's shoulder, the magic ball slowly began to expand and he returned to his original form, reborn in the world, her memories and magical power, and somehow she was summoned to this world once again. Thea also doesn't understand how it happened, and the LCA mentions what the princess said earlier, that this last summoning is not a coincidence, but Yuki doesn't want to give it the proper importance. Now she wants to know what happened to Toma after taking his last hit. If Toma is still alive, he mentions that he is probably the one behind the recent demon invasion. Theo is cursed by Toma's power, asks if it is controlled by, and Yuki confirms that it is. He felt magical power from the demon a few days ago, so the only explanation is that Toma is behind everything. Elko explains they searched for Toma just like they did for Yuki, but they couldn't find anything. But now they're Yuki, they know that the living also believe that Toma is a soldier, hastily interrupting them by claiming that he was asking for King Glame. Glenn mentions that Yuki's companion is working hard, and the ELCA mentions that Yuki was the first to get involved, but Yuki didn't. His plan is to just travel around the world after the final battle, But looking at the scene, Yuki finds himself in this situation. Inside the castle, Yuki begins to ask what Toma is planning, complaining that the king never accepted the peace treaty 5 years ago and decides to declare an all-out war against the demons, but tries to delay it because their emissary has not returned with the news after being sent to the demon continent. The demons invading them and summoning the heroes at the same time is a sign that there must be war, the king mentions again, and that he should never have trusted the former hero to make a peace treaty. If she's gone, it means they made a bad decision at the training ground. Yui is practicing magic spells because she seems to have a natural talent for it. Yuki tells her that she's talented. She congratulates him and thanks him, but he quickly notices that something is wrong with him. She asks what's wrong and asks if he's training to hurt people, and why anyone has to go to war. Yuki knows the truth, and he doesn't know how to answer her because it might hurt her. But even then, feeling that she's getting better, she tells him that she'll use her magical powers to protect him at night. More training, but Yuki has already made up his mind. He will go out and stop the war by himself again. He thinks that this war is a stupid thing that Toma is creating, and the one who is supposed to stop it is looking at him, starts saying 3 smiles, wants to go on his old adventures with him, but Yuki refuses. He has to go alone. Besides, they can't leave the castle and the students by themselves, and if Toma started the war in the castle, also mentions that someone should stay because of course he attacks her, and that's reason enough for them to stay and help the kingdom. But before leaving Yuki, her weapon needed one thing. The group uses invisibility magic to sneak around the castle's warehouse, goes forward to drive out the guards, and the group reminisces about the old times they always had in front of them during their explorations in their dungeon. Then he starts to lock the room, but Oi notices something strange and sees walking into them a huge black Yuki he calls Kiramaru, sees the sword, but the guards rule. Elka is beaten to find the guard, and they begin to search the entire castle. The invader's bride does everything to delay the situation, and finally slips past the castle walls, allowing Yuki and Elka to leave the castle. Everything to delay the king from starting the war, hoping that it will give Yuki enough time to stop Toma and the demon invasion. But at the same time, seeing Yuki enter the warehouse, Yui manages to follow him. He asks why and what said. Where is he going? He decides to reveal the truth, explaining that he was called to this world for the 2nd time, and that he needs to meet someone to stop this war. Ears tears in his eyes, and asks him to promise to be with her helpful, but Yuki won't let him get hurt. It's too dangerous for him. He can barely contain his feelings, but he remembers his promise, and tells him to close his eyes, and instantly approaches her. She casts some wind and fire magic, and the hairstyle she was promised stiffens, and with a smile and promises to be strong again and protect her. She taps her forehead and says that if she is next, if the journey escapes him, he says that he will pass the test and accompany him in the next one.